Welcome back to the U Sports Report. Now it's time for the Players Club, where we talk to you about a player or team that stood out to us this week in the world of sports. Tyler, who do you have?
I'm going to go with Christina Aragon. Now, if you haven't heard this name, you should definitely get familiar. She is a high school track star. She's 18 years old, from Billings, Montana, out of Billings Senior High School. Now, this here is her at the Portland Track Festival, running the 1500 meter. She's going to finish with a time of 4:09.27, Kimberly. That is the fastest time ever in that event by a high school athlete. She did that in that field, all those runners that you just saw, a bunch of collegiate athletes and professional athletes. She's 18 years old now. I had the privilege of covering her just a couple of weeks ago here in Albuquerque at the Great Southwest Track and Field Invitational. She ran the 800 meters. Now last year at the track meet, she set the event record in the 800 with a time of 2:11. Well, this year she comes back, she runs a 2:09. So she's just dominating.
Breaking her own records.
Breaking her own records. Now, we showed you that clip of that race right there at the beginning. That right there got her to qualify for the Olympic trials in the 1500.
Wow.
18 years old. She's committed to Stanford, where she'll be running. She had to give up gymnastics to pursue a career in track, which I think she'll be more than fine doing so.
Oh, yeah.
She's only the third prep athlete in history to break 4:10 in the 1500, aside Mary Kane and Alexa Ephraimson, both of whom signed contracts, professional contracts with Nike while they were still in high school.
Wow.
So she is certainly on her way. Now, if you're wondering, what does this have to do with New Mexico? Well, clearly, her last name is Aragon. Her father is actually from the state of New Mexico. Her older two sisters ran track at Notre Dame.
Okay.
So it's clearly in the blood as far as the Aragons go. And she'll be running at the Brooks PR Invitational here in just a couple of days, June 18th. You definitely don't want to miss that, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a loaded track meet. You're going to have a lot of the top athletes from around the country, not just high school athletes. In fact, I think Christina may be one of the only few high school athletes in the field. Now, funny little story about Christina. I went on this trip to Costa Rica about 6 years ago, and when we went, there was this group from Montana.
Yeah.
Well, their chaperone is a teacher at Billings Senior High School. So when I was looking at the press the press guide when I was broadcasting the meet, you know, I saw that she was from Billings Senior High School. So I reached out to that old teacher. I was like, "Hey, isn't this where you used to teach?" And she goes, "Yeah, sure enough. I had Christina as one of my students just a couple of years ago." So it's a very, very small world. I know.
It really is.
Very small world. I was fortunate enough to catch up with Christina after the meet there. That picture that you saw between us, you know, shared a few little memories with her and everything. She is a great girl. She's very bright, obviously very smart, committed to Stanford. Not just anybody gets in over there. But ladies and gentlemen, remember the name Christina Aragon. She will be a household name as far as USA Track goes here in the future.
Yeah, and hopefully in the Olympics representing the United States in great fashion. We've talked about some really amazing track stars, particularly in UNM, and then Christina now in high school showing us exactly how it's done. When I was in high school, I played softball. I played pinch runner because none of our girls were fast enough to make it around the bases or something. I don't know. Coach just knew I was fast, and our track coach approached me several times asking me to run, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't commit. I'm not interested in running, and I've never really wanted to. So I have nothing but respect for these ladies who do it, and they do it so well.
It's incredible. Each and every year, you know, I get to broadcast the Great Southwest Track and Field Meet, which is one of the top 4 postseason meets in the country.
Yeah.
So it's a big regional deal just to see those athletes get out there and run the times that they do. It blows my mind.
It really
does. Completely blows my mind. So who's your pick for the Players Club?
You know, he's a New Mexico local. And I'll tell you a really quick story about him before I really go into it, but I know you guys are seeing this picture of him behind me. When we were in high school together, we took 10th grade math. I got switched from one class to another because the first class was overwhelmed. The teacher had too many students. And I wound up sitting between two young men, Jeremy and Blake, who both of them were not the best math guys in the world. You know, they had decent grades, but they weren't the smartest. And they really weren't like favoriting math as one of their favorite subjects. So getting to sit between the two of them was an interesting prospect for me, as I wasn't necessarily a big fan of math either, but I was pretty good at it in high school. Of course, test time came and Blake would repeatedly look over my shoulder a little bit at my answers. First couple of times got a little defensive and turned my page. Don't look at me. No, stop it. After a little while, I became friends with these two guys and ultimately wound up letting them copy off of me. Once even got a worse grade than they did, even though they cheated off of me. The teacher accused me of cheating and told me she wouldn't have any of that in her class. So Blake, you're welcome for helping you graduate high school. I know that my test answers had something to do with it. He was also in one of my CAD classes. So as my Players Club member, Blake Swihart of Albuquerque, New Mexico, played at Cleveland High School, now for the Boston Red Sox. He's on a one-year, $519,000 contract with them through the end of 2016, and obviously looking to extend that contract with them. He's played catcher for them and also left outfielder. He started in a huge rivalry game between the Red Sox and the Yankees. A great time to debut your skills in the MLB, and he went through the ranks of single A, double A, and triple A pretty quickly. He signed with the Red Sox after at first kind of telling them, no, I want to go to college and play in Texas. Ultimately, they offered him a pretty big signing bonus, and he agreed and went ahead and went to the Red Sox single A team.
I mean, you can't really debate that.
You really can't.
I mean, and then just the way the storyline shakes out, he comes on, makes his debut against the New York Yankees, the Evil Empire, the Bronx Bombers, the guys in the pinstripes, whatever you want to call them. That is the very biggest team in North American baseball.
It really
and for Blake to make his debut against that team, I mean, you really couldn't write up a better storyline.
And as far as I remember, I believe that the Red Sox did just barely beat the Yankees in that matchup. And if Blake had anything to do with it, he definitely had an opportunity to show his catching skills and really remind the Red Sox why they signed him on that huge signing bonus.
So Christina Aragon, Blake Swihart, welcome to the Players Club. We'll be right back with more of the U Sports Report.